Welcome back to the Torque Test channel. This is the Milwaukee 2967. Been waiting a few years to say that. It's their Gen 3 high torque that info and images leaked yesterday on. And this is the Flex 10 amp hour stacked lithium battery. And this is the most powerful cordless impact on the planet. Let's try to just slap some things together and see what happens, because Milwaukee's all new high torque is said to make even more beans when using their new, as of now unreleased, pouch cell FORGE batteries. And currently, this is the largest and most expensive pouch cell battery on the market, which should make for some fun. Seeing as some of these tools aren't as latest and greatest as an unreleased tool is, obviously, shooting 24 volts up their 18 volt backside might be the closest and, well, coolest way to demonstrate what Old Red might have on tap for us very soon. We just passed 300,000 subscribers this week, so in celebration of that, we bought an Ingersoll-Rand W9691, the most powerful cordless impact on the planet. We only know that claim to be true because we've borrowed one in the past, but we bought this one to do some stupid stuff with because we usually try to put out some interesting bastardizations with each channel milestone. We do truly appreciate each and every one of you who think to click on that button. Subscribing is not something we often really mention like during the videos, and yet so many of you do it anyways. A big thanks to all of you. Now, the 40 volt Ingersoll-Rand that uses these somewhat wimpy 5 to 5.6 amp hour 18650 batteries, we thought 20 amp hours total of 48 volt stacked lithium would be a fun kick in the pants. So we reached out to 3D printed adapters on Etsy, because that's one of the only places you'll see quality 24 volt flex adapters and for 18 volt tools, and said, hey, fiddling around with some wires on half this thing seems to make it chooch, so you want to give it a go. Turns out he's a fan of the channel and was happy to work on this with us, but overall had some reservations after we sent him a tool to mess with, even matching the signal wires with corresponding resistors to match the signal terminals and making 2 power and ground posts for the extra watts stacked lithium cells can put out. He made it clear that this was not going to be a sure thing, but we're used to flying in the face of adversity on this channel. I mean, come on, blazing trails in the name of science is just another Tuesday for us, and it's dead. Yeah, it's done for. 1-inch IR impact, 5 amp hour flex battery, and a 6 amp hour stacked lithium battery that we tried this first with, all kaput. Being this stupid can be expensive at times. The batteries still work, but they will no longer start charging. We believe in recycling though, so this thing's life is far from over. It will probably go under the scalpel, resulting in some type of battery or gas-powered lunacy in the future. Now that was months in the making, but this new M18 leak from yesterday and our order including a Flex to Milwaukee adapter, something with a bit of a proven track record in the adapter community, now that was fate. So let's see what higher voltage and higher discharge amps from pouch cells can do to these tools. A lot of hearsay back and forth over what really happens when you overvolt 18 volt tools like these. Do you get more power, more speed, but not more grunt? Do you get nothing? Do you get tool destruction? Well, when it comes to their latest M18 hammer drill driver, a stock XE 5.0 registers just free spinning this thing 2064 RPM and maxes out at 460 watts here. This isn't going to compare directly to our normal drill dyno testing series, as we're using a bunch of these, which gives us more resistance, but also more expandability in case we're about to go sky high in power. So here's with a Flex 5 amp hour pack, which means primarily just more voltage. And we're still seeing 2064 RPM. That's with 18650 cells in the pack, just normal ones, but we're going to be comparing it versus the 6 amp hour high output we usually like for these tools on screen as well. Now, this making the same RPM is surprising, as voltage can often correlate directly with RPM. There's a lot more going on in this drill than a positive and negative going to the motor. So same RPM, but are we dealing with the same power as well? The 5 amp hour flex battery cranks things all the way up to 750 watts, beating out a 21700 cell high output pack. But if you think that's cool, check out what happens when you not only eliminate voltage sag by always having 21.5 volts on tap even when the tool is bogged down, but you also have crazy high discharge rate of pouch cells that Milwaukee is going to be utilizing with their new FORGE batteries. The 6 amp hour stacked lithium is good for 980 watts, more than doubling what the same exact drill made with a base XE 5.0. Bonkers. But we have more in store with the 10 amp hour still to go. Let's see it. At $329 retail, it's not going to win you any bargain prizes with this battery, but While you think the small M18 drill would be tapped out and not able to improve much beyond what a 6 amp hour stacked lithium can do, it's able to max out this group of load testers, every one of them, which is why we chose to use these, as we have 5 of them on tap in case we need to daisy chain them together. The 10 amp hour big boy is able to move beyond 1000 watts, beyond 1100 watts, up to 1160 before cutting out suddenly, breaking the impact adapter and chucking the battery off the tool as a result. The drill's still working after this, which is impressive, and it didn't let any smoke out, which we've seen before on stock setups. And that's despite a very toasty 140-145 degree reading on the outside of the motor housing. Breaking the bit and slamming the battery against the table did yard sell the battery adapter into a few pieces, but fortunately, just slotting those taps back into their other half shell and super gluing this thing together worked a treat for the rest of the day and for these overhead shots here after its rehab. So let's see how much extra we can squeeze out of this guy, their current high torque impact, and maybe it will offer a small peek into the future of what this thing will bring. Shout out to Deal Team 6 for digging this up, because by the numbers, it's going to be spicy. When we got testing sample leaked images 3 months ago and even slipped those into a video that few noticed, we around here estimated that this would be a 7 3/4 inch long high torque down from their current 8.4 inch one, which is a trend Milwaukee has been doing. Shorter tools, it makes them pretty useful actually. But that meant, or we thought it meant, less or the same torque, which is a rare step for a top brand. Oh, how wrong we were. 7.6 inches long, tiny bit shorter than we estimated, and 1100 foot-pounds tightening, 1600 foot-pounds nut busting. That's with a Forge battery, their pouch cell battery line yet to be announced. They cite only quote unquote 1500 foot-pounds with a standard XC 5.0, a trend I like to see emerging from these brands, and hopefully one we've helped, even if a little bit, to promote, rating your tools with the batteries they should be using, like Bosch ProFactor, that we then use a ProFactor battery with to try to hit their numbers. XC 5.0 batteries are fine really for most impacts, but if your numbers are based on high output, or Forge in this case, say so that people know to try those out. So how are they making more torque with less length then? Larger head and larger diameter hammers, of course. We've been documenting this effective trend in modern impacts. Larger diameter means heavier hammer, and the rotational inertia compounding effect of that weight being further from the center. It makes a lot of sense to make a lot of jam. Something this unreleased DeWalt doubled down on as well, applying that same sort of math. Will it fit in as many places as if you had just shrunken down a Gen 2 high torque with its nose and body size? No, but it should bring the beans. As a sort of last hurrah for this model before the curtain drops, let's try to show up the new guy before he even rides into town with our own pouch cells and shoving 24 volts into an 18 volt tool. Here's the 2767 with the 5 amp hour Flex 18650 battery versus an XC 5.0 on screen. Okay, so it was working not ideally, but 840, 833, it sort of ran out of juice, then got stuck there at the end, but that gap on the curve is crazy. The reason this thing makes so much more power on a simple 5 amp hour is speed. While the drill brought more grunt, but no extra speed, on impacts, this is flipped on its head, all extra speed, and this is good news too, as just extra grunt wouldn't do much for you on these tools. It's just fighting a reset hammer spring inside. Anything over that and above it is just power that's wasted. While hopping up RPM and impacts per minute, and along with that hammer speed, that we find even on this particular model that we've modded can go a long way. From here, we basically said, let's stop messing around and go stack lithium to see what difference M18 Impact sees with the extra discharge potential of pouch cells. Here's both the 6 amp hour stacked lithium and the 10 amp hour stacked lithium on screen versus the HD 12.0 high output as well. (974 foot-pounds). Now, does it sound happy? No, but the most powerful half-inch impact on the market, as in you can go out and buy this combo that we've tested, is an M18 2767 with a flex 10 amp hour stacked lithium run at 24 volts. You love to see it. The A version of these tools that they didn't go out and mess around with in design, these things are stout, just plain hard to kill. Hopefully the next gen's just more of that. But if that was able to topple records in its category, what about this guy, our trusty M18 2968 1-inch impact? Sure, we could nuke another $1,000 some odd impact, making this the single most expensive day ever, or we could topple its closest rival that's already bit the pixie dust from too many volts. In steps the 10 amp hour stacked lithium one last time to see what it can do against the IR 1-inch world's most powerful cordless. The gauge display on this rig was acting up once again, but data on screen as usual. $1,649, a good increase, but not enough to take down the Ingersoll-Rand yet. This impact, like the half-inch high torque, also increased in RPM, which is a good sign for making more sauce. We expected it to possibly unseat the IR after just seeing that, but, and you can see it on the graph, it almost felt like when things were super tight, the hammer was off on its timing, spinning too fast and not hitting with the correct rhythm, losing out to the IR during that time. Who knows, maybe Forge batteries, if they make them big enough and don't just release one new size a year like DeWalt PowerStack seems to, maybe it will give this impact even more effective and potentially less tool abuse sort of boost. Despite all that abuse though, all these M18 tools are still working as normal with M18 batteries. Even the battery adapter with only one screw left in it that we messed up, an impressive showing all around today despite some early casualties. If Milwaukee's Gen 3 high torque is just one of these with more power and less length, no doubt we'll be seeing it in almost every shop here pretty soon. Thanks for watching.